Death Knight here. I'm going to be doing most of the game reviews for some time. I go over the good things from least to greatest, following to where I completely bash the games where they go wrong, least to greatest, kind of like a big game reviewing hill. Now, here's your first history lesson. League of Legends was first released in 2009 by Riot Games, and it's a multiplayer online battle arena, aka MOBA, game, which in English translates to a game where you choose pre-made characters to go kick others in their pre-made characters in the virtual balls. MOBAs are very competitive, and League sets the standard, having been on MLG Gaming for a couple of years now. Putting the Wikipedia articles away, let's start the actual review. League's graphics are nothing special, but everything is designed in a quirky fantasy style that fits the mood of the game very well. Mostly the game's music consists of easily forgettable orchestra pieces, along with Misfit and Thresh's theme. Whichever one you listen to will be determined by how much contempt you have for humanity. Voice acting and sound effects in-game, however, make up for the lack of musical tunes, since you wouldn't hear them anyway over the weapon clangs, death screams, character taunts, and explosions going off every 5 seconds. They aren't that extensive. You may be hearing some of the same effects over and over again. But the game certainly isn't a quiet wasteland at any point. Then there's the game's lore, a word much more fitting than story. Basically it's, what if World War I's League of Nations didn't suck? Each character also has its own backstory as to why they fight. And there's even a Journal of Justice, which periodically updates talking about any recent in-world events and character relations. It's nice that Riot takes the effort to work on this fantasy world, but it's nothing like an actual story, and it's really just there for the lore junkies who want to know how many times Evelyn has gotten laid. No, the real focus of League of Legends is the gameplay itself, and everything directly involved with that. A typical League match consists of 10 players with various familiar roles, DPS, healer, tank, etc. Said players are in teams of 5, and they have to push their forces into the enemy team's base, and destroy the nexus at the center of it. Throughout the match you earn gold, either by killing everything that moves like a deranged hitman, or simply waiting for the mystical welfare check to fill your pockets slowly over time. You use said gold to buy items and power-ups to do more killing, or getting bigger welfare checks. When you start playing, you will enter into one of 2 learning curves, the first being you lose an untold number of matches as you slowly grope your way around the mechanics of the game, and teammates yelling semi-helpful tips at you until you finally get it. Afterwards you work your way out of your 1,000 match losing streak. The second way is a veteran friend helps you out, or you take the time to go out of your way and search guides and forums for help. Then practice in bot matches, the unused game modes, until finally joining regular matches without being that asshole on your team. The learning curve is a bit ridiculous in this way, because the game isn't inherently difficult to learn, but you'll need some kind of tutor to teach you how to play properly, as the game's tutorial is a lazy substitute teacher who just tells you the obvious nonsense while sitting back polishing its nails. The game boasts a very vibrant community of dedicated fans. There are chat rooms in the game for which clusterfuck can't even begin to describe them. YouTube videos and gameplay streams are plenty from noobs and professionals alike. MLG tournaments with enough simultaneous viewers to crash your computer. Riot also accepts suggestions for changes to the game, and new ideas for characters and game modes. Hell, you can even converse with the enemy team about which character you like to violate the most with your Doran's blade in the middle of a massive team fight! However, trolls, griefers, and those with anger management issues also make up a considerable portion of the game population. Many will ruin your game experience and bring out the ghetto within me. You midget honky bit! The problem got so out of hand that Riot Games opened the Tribunal, a justice system available to any player who's reached level 20 that allows them to review the cases of recently reported players and rule them as innocent or guilty. Being sent to the Tribunal 3 times may result in a permaban on your account, deleting all of your progress, any in-game currency, or items you happen to purchase with real money. Thankfully, the problem has diminished considerably since the Tribunal, and there will of course always be such undesirables in gaming. But, at the time of this review, I do feel it is a problem worth noting. Chances are you will end up in such a situation multiple times while playing the game. Every aspiring boot camp of Legends recruit wants to join the ranked matches and get a shot at going pro. Or so the game assumes. Or perhaps everyone who plays just assumes until they're caught in this mindset as well. See, the game is very integral in Major League Gaming, and all eyes are on the ranked players and the match system. It's one of those unavoidable things you'll just end up doing, from peer pressure or going with the tides, kind of like waking up in a crystal meth lab inside your college dormitory. Losing is looked down upon, and many will throw a fit just when things aren't going their way, because of how it could possibly negatively affect their rankings. Since games are made of 10 people, you're almost guaranteed to have one starry-eyed nerd jock who will start pinning the blame on everything that isn't him or herself, and overall ruin the game experience. This attitude even permeates into the normal unranked matches and the 3v3 map. With a fairly large and vocal amount of players, it gets to the point that playing can feel like a second job at times. Especially since if you don't play at least once a month, you'll lose your place in the rankings and will have to work all the way back up through the bitching and the dying and the reporting. What if I don't want to be the best there ever was? What if I just want to play a friggin' game against other players for the challenge, but not care whether or not I have a positive win-lose ratio to brag about? Well, for that there's Dominion mode. Basically territory control with the players consisting of homicidal maniacs. Most players are in it for good fun, to kill time and each other, but there are only so many times you can decapitate someone with your favorite character before getting bored, and this is one of the major problems the game has. 30 levels, or about 4 months of game time, of the same two modes is really overestimating the amount of complexity and fun one can have in League of Legends. While the different and new characters are individually interesting, and there's a new one every month as I'm reviewing this, it only stretches the experience so far. You can come to the Fields of Justice only so many times without feeling an awkward sense of deja vu. There are other maps and game modes, but the majority of the game is focused around the 5v5 Summoner's Rift. Twisted Tree Line and Proving Grounds are basically the same, except with fewer lanes to walk through and kill things in. Dominion mode is like the unpronounceable dish you order in a restaurant after you've grown tired of everything else in the menu, and otherwise it just goes unnoticed. The slap in the face is given to the more casual players who refuse to join the legions of nerd jocks and don't want to spend all their time perfecting their virtual killing skills. But instead they just want to screw around and have fun. There is an entire map of the in-game world, the majority filled in gray, and lighted areas indicate there is a map for this portion of the continent. If Riot Games can produce a new character every damn month, why is it so hard to make a new game mode? At the very least, standard ones such as Capture the Flag, Free-for-all, or a Horde mode that you see in all other modern games. Of course, I know an entirely new game mode and map is much more labor-intensive than a single character, and I'm not blaming Riot Games for wanting to cater to whoever's throwing the most money at them. The new game modes will probably be seen about as helpful on an MLG resume as Dominion, ignored by the more hardcore players of the game. However, being shown a drawing of stuff we'll do someday maybe makes it seem like the game is only half finished. All in all, League of Legends is prominent right now in the world of video games, and rightly so given the amount of work put into it by Riot Games and the fans. The game is best for social butterflies, people who want to relive football glory days, those who are too weak to participate in sports in the first place, and groups of friends big enough to mute the enemy team and not have to deal with the MLG speak all around them, and actually enjoy the video game. But if you're more of an average Joe who wants to have fun and a challenge, but doesn't care so much about winning or losing, well, there are other games for masochists such as yourself. But League of Legends isn't one of them.